Nods, everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll include that in our budget discussions. Do want to say a word about Texas Road Bridge. Several calls and several emails concerning the bridge project from what I reported last week. And let's get a note here. I understand completely that the letter we received from KCI is somewhat confusing. I have been in discussions with the folks from North Carolina Department of Transportation, and I'll try to put it as simply as I can. Hopefully this will explain sort of where we're at. Currently, as of this last week, we were told that because of the motion that was made, was, I think, to suspend the Texas Road Bridge project indefinitely. That wording sort of put in jeopardy our funding from the federal government. So we were advised at that time to perhaps reopen our planning document, and if we reopen the planning document, then we wouldn't necessarily have to return the roughly $1,000 of planning money. So that's sort of where we stood at that point. Recently, though, I understand that Federal Highway Administration and the North Carolina Department of Transportation would now like to review our project and have requested that the board sort of sit tight and then till they can be back in touch with us about where to head from here. Today, the mayor and I reviewed and sent an email requesting a conference call with both NCDOT and the Federal Highway Administration in preparation of your May meeting. So again, I know there was some discussion about rescinding possibly that motion and reopening that planning document, but I think it's important now that we sort of wait and see what they have to say and report back to us, if that's okay with the board.
How is that going to impact the meeting on Tuesday? How will that impact the meeting on Tuesday?
That's a good question. As it stands right now, we're not completely sure. What we don't want to do is have a bridge committee do a lot of work, get a lot of input, and then it not count for anything. So one thought is, sort of to hold off, but then we have a very short time period for this committee to be operating. So in discussions with NCDOT today, sort of indicated we'll go ahead and have our first meeting or two and then invite our chair and vice chair to the conference call. And then that way we can sort of answer, everybody can hear at the same time and hopefully get all of our questions answered about what process we need to go through.
Okay, and it is a lot for the new committee to comprehend, reading all of the documents for the last few years. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to comment. I look forward to hearing the report of the committee, and I would ask them all to have open minds as they approach this. And I do have a concern that at least one member that's been appointed publicly stated at the last meeting that he was against the bridge, and that's in the minutes that we have. So I'm assuming that this individual and all the individuals will fully consider all of the options they have before them. That's what I ask.
Okay, that concludes my report unless you have any questions about that.
The sanitation issues that's in the agenda, is that going to be covered by Steve?
Steve and I will sort of tag team on that.
Okay, but during Steve's presentation, that's when you're going to...
No, it's actually under old business.
Okay. Sanitation services update is where you're going
Yes,
to
ma'am.
cover that. Okay. Is it going to require a motion from us, or just...
No, we have sort of operated off your direction provided at the board retreat, which was to move forward with staff's recommendation.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Through.
Yes, sir.
Under the consent agenda, Ron, I have signed the resolution designating April 30th, 2016 as Arbor Day in Montreat, and I'm going to pass that to Angie so she can have that. All right. I don't know whether we're going to have all the administrative reports tonight or not. David's here, okay. Is Chief Staggs going to be here tonight, Dave?
No, sir.
Okay. You're, might even tell us about the gas leak in Black Mountain that's got some roads closed and might be holding some people from getting here.
That's next month's exciting episode. Actually, that's been all cleared up and the roads are open now. I don't think they actually patched the pipeline, but they did cut off gas, so there's no more risk or hazard on it. Just past the primary school and the vacant lot just to the side of the Tractor Supply. They were doing some utility work down there and managed to cut into that pipeline somehow. Luckily, somebody caught a whiff of it before any sort of catastrophe ensued.
Cut pipelines and run into gates, don't they?
That's it. That's always something. Let's see, for the March monthly police statistics reports, the numbers themselves, there's been no drastic changes, nothing to really raise an eyebrow about. The couple of quick bullet points. Total for town services altogether for that month were 455 calls for service, strictly for the town. For the MRA, there was 138, and college, 15. Started the month off with an exciting night. We had a call about a fight in progress up on North Carolina Terrace. We had our officer as well as a couple of Black Mountain officers respond to that. Ultimately, we had two males arrested, one for assault and battery, another one for resisting and assault on a government official. Both those, like I said, were handled with arrest. And we spent the night in Asheville after that. Shortly after that, Officer Whitson attended North Carolina Justice Academy class. It was a 24-hour class about community-oriented policing. It certainly comes into play in this area. After that, we had a couple of officers attend bloodborne pathogens, hazmat, human trafficking, and recovery of electronic evidence classes. Those are subsections of the annual in-service that we go through. All certified officers have to go through an annual basis in order to retain their accreditation. So they were whittling some of that down. In and around the time of St. Patty's Day, we had the Governor's Highway Safety Program was in place doing the license checks. We did that over the course of about 3 different occasions over about a week's time period between us, Black Mountain Police Department, DHHS, Buncombe County Sheriff's Department. I believe Highway Patrol participated in one of those. Anyway, in total, just Monterey officers alone handled approximately 75 vehicle checks during that time. We also, throughout the month, if you'll notice it does say 325 on here, but there was occasions throughout the month. We've had a lot of black bear activity. They have woken up hungry and they are hitting these trash cans hard. It's my understanding the Hunters Club up on the ridge line was starting to feed all the bears, put out nuts or corn or whatever they do up there about a week and a half ago. So I think we were seeing earlier activity because that had not been made available for them yet. So hopefully once they do their thing up there and they get acorns, all sort of good stuff, maybe we'll see a downturn in that. But we do want to encourage everybody to keep their bear-proof containers in working order as best as possible. And they seem to get more clever by the year. Toward the end of the month on the 27th, I got a call at 11:55 a.m. That was a Sunday morning. In regards to what was originally came in as a B&E, a break and entering, it was in fact a burglary. We had an individual enter a house in the wee hours of the morning, was confronted by the homeowner. That, if memory serves, was around 3:30 in the morning when it actually occurred. We received notice of it at 11:55, not exactly timely reported, but at least we did hear about it. Shortly after that, we received a call about B&E to a motor vehicle and damage, subsequent damage to the motor vehicle after that. We surmised probably around the same time period, that early morning, as well as a keyed vehicle, which may or may not have been involved in that same string of events there. As far as the motor vehicle that was broken into and vandalized, like I said, we surmised it was around the same time period. We heard about that Monday around the noontime hour. So again, not the most timely of reporting, but we did hear about it, thankfully. And I'll segue right into this. Please, anytime you do see something, hear something, anything suspicious, raises an eyebrow, anything like that, please don't hesitate to give us a call. We do operate 24/7. We're always here. We've done our best to distribute the magnets and cards that show dispatch number. You know, if it's something, it's not necessarily an emergency, but you still want to contact a police officer, that's great. 911, of course, does work 24/7 as well. So, again, we encourage, see something, hear something, say something, please let us know. The more timely we hear about it, the greater we'll be able to get on top of it more quickly.
Thank you, Dave.
You're very welcome.
Steve Freeman, Public Works Director.
Thank you, Mayor. This past month, we had several storms with high winds that caused quite a few trees to come down. One of the hardest hit areas was up on Kanawha, which caused the power to be out for most of the day on Sunday. And if your power does go out in the town, call 1-800-POWER-ON. And the more people that calls them, the quicker they will get out to get the power turned back on, just for information. Moving on, we had one water leak up on Woodland last month. It ended up being a 3/4 service on our side that was actually an old galvanized line that burst, and the crews fixed that. I'm happy to report that our annual water supply plan has been completed and turned in on time. And I'm real happy to report that we only have 5% water loss as average for the year. And the state is happy if you have 15%, so we're doing real good in that respect. Also, this plan projects the water use for 2040, and we're well within that goal. Everything is good in that respect, so we've got plenty of water to last through that with the way they project things. And finally, the Public Works crew's been working on that rock wall up on Alabama behind the post office, and I'm happy to say they've got that part completed, and we'll start putting in the guardrail on Monday for that.
Steve, could you explain what a 5% water loss, what a water loss means for those who haven't heard that before?
Yes, ma'am. The water loss is the difference between the water that we produce and the water that we sell, and also accounting for flushing and that sort of thing. And this is just a way of calculating the difference between what is leaking out into the ground or unaccounted for.
Unaccounted for. So, I mean, 5% is a great
Yes, ma'am.
number.
Hey Steve, have you seen the tree that's sort of precariously hanging right next to the bridge on Graybeard?
Yes, ma'am. We've taken a look at that, and we'll get our crew to look at doing something with that. We've got 3 or 4 around town. Unfortunately, David, his mother passed away, so he is out of town for the next week. So that's most of that work for us.
Any other questions for Steve? Thanks, Steve. Stephen Stackhouse, Finance Director.
Thank you. If I may just, first of all, just a little word of explanation about the certificate award that you mentioned. This is a program of the Government Finance Officers Association, of which I'm a member. And this is a program where we have to go above and beyond the minimum legal requirements on our annual audited financial report, add some additional information. The idea being to provide more informative and useful documents, both for you, the governing board, and also for the general public. As I say, we've received that certificate 4 years in a row. It does have a peer review process that we have to go through as well. And of the over 700 county municipal governments in the state, a little over 100 received that. Now, for your monthly financial report for February, our total general fund revenues are $1,375,000. That's about $100,000 more than the same time last year. So we're doing well with revenues. Expenses $918,623. That compares to $1,205,000 the same time last year. So far we are looking at a very healthy surplus of $456,646. Of course, this will certainly change as the year goes on towards conclusion. In the water fund, we are looking at revenues through February of $353,214. That's quite a bit higher than same time last year, but that includes the first installment of special assessment tax revenues, so that's why that's so much larger. Expenses of $82,136, less than the 106 same time last year, so we're looking at a surplus of $271,078. And then for your cash and investments report as of March 31st, total money in all accounts and investments, $2,237,617, and we have earned $1,240.06 in interest so far the year. Rates are starting to creep up a little bit.
Any questions of Stephen? Thank you, Stephen. Are we going to have a report from David?
No, he was at training
Okay.
and was traveling, so he will not be here, it looks like. He did want me just to report that the planning and zoning meets April 21st,
Okay,
and that they will be looking at the sign ordinance revisions.
all right. Good deal. Now it's time for public comment for those items on the agenda. If you'll come up, please, and state your name and where you live, and we'll proceed. And who are you, young lady?
This is chapter 2. I'm Suzanne McCaskill, 114 John Knox Road. I do not approve of paying the plaintiffs to sue the town. If you decide to do that and not let it go back to the court, then you will have set a precedent. Anyone will be able to sue the town for any reason hereafter because they know that any amount of dollars they spend, the town will reimburse them. You're making a huge decision on this, and I hope it doesn't come back and bite all of us. What you decide will follow indefinitely for many years, and the town will suffer indefinitely. Please let the court decide and back out of it. Suzanne McCaskill.
Thank you, Suzanne. Anyone else? This is items on the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Grace Nichols. 527 Swanee Drive relates to well, it will come down to the point of the lawsuit as well as the form of the fund that we're discussing of Mr. Frisk. The town council should not approve the use of taxpayer money to pay legal fees to the plaintiffs and to the other financial supporters. The goal of not building the town hall on Florida Terrace was already accomplished on the result of the November election of 2 new council members and 1 appointed councilman. The new council members have already filled their campaign mandate. The payments of taxpayers' money to the plaintiffs and their contributors to the lawsuit could be interpreted as payback to their supporters and their campaign. The day after the November election, newly elected council member Kitty Fouché wrote a personal email to 426 concerned Montreaters thanking the supporters. In one of the paragraphs she wrote, "We appreciate the work of the original group of citizens who jumped into action when the town hall situation was erupting and capturing attention. Mike Sonnenberg started a petition. Peter Boggs, the printer, was joined by Francis Burris and Robin Melvin to become our communication vehicle. Without these people, along with those who braved the expense and trouble of a lawsuit, we would have already received our invitation to the Florida Terrace Town Hall ribbon-cutting ceremony." As Tom Frisk spoke last week to the formation of Reconciliation Fund to help pay the litigation costs of the plaintiffs and other contributors, this compromise was suggested to whether Montreat taxpayers should be required to pay the legal fees of the plaintiffs who brought this suit against the town. He stated that the fund may not be enough money to reimburse all of the expenses to the plaintiffs, and that his hope is that the plaintiffs and other contributors will decide not to seek full repayment. Instead, they will see their contribution to the legal part of the campaign as gifts. Similar in nature, though greater in size, to those others who made to the non-legal aspects of the campaign. In the volunteer hours, all those blueprints, the surveys, flowers, house parties, and cash. These two examples link the lawsuit to the election campaign, reimbursing the money to the plaintiffs and other contributors would appear to me to be an unethical payback.
Thank you. Christie. If anyone else has anything to say about the town hall or the lawsuit, this is agenda items right now, and that is not on the agenda anywhere.
It is with the reconciliation fund, is about the lawsuit.
Well, it's a reconciliation fund. We can
Right,
talk
but
about
it's-
that, but, okay, go ahead. You gonna talk one place or the other?
Well, it's about paying, the town paying money or the town setting up to pay for the plaintiffs, and so it's all kind of related. So I'd like to speak to that, not directly to the reconciliation, but to the lawsuit. Janie Moore, 100 Frist Road. I ask that this council not force the taxpayers of Montreat to pay for the legal expenses of the plaintiffs unless the council is ordered to do so by the court. The court is able to make an objective decision regarding this issue, and this community will be able to accept their objective ruling on this matter no matter what it is. Please consider that recently elected officials voting to voluntarily pay large sums of taxpayer money to their political supporters does not seem wise, nor would it appear to be ethical. Settling the lawsuit is fine and might help the community get beyond this issue, but not if there is a perception that political quid pro quo is taking place. There are people involved in this issue who would normally have impeccable logic regarding ethics, but because they are so close to the issue, they might not see, or they might not be able to see what others see as an obvious conflict. Of course, it's a difference of opinion. So before taking any action, please ask for outside advice concerning the ethics of the action that you are considering. Thank you.
Thank you, Janie. Anyone else? Don Reed?
I heard Ron say that the information from KCI is confusing. That made me feel much better because I read it and it definitely is confusing, Ron. So what I did this past week was go back and look at some correspondence I had with the state and feds regarding this bridge, and for the good of the cause, I'll tell you what I found out. I wrote a letter to Donnie Brew, who is the project development engineer for the Federal Highway Administration in Raleigh, and I asked him, this was in July of 2015, I said to him, where the three options were. My question was, one, continue with the current process and build the bridge as proposed. His